INFJs are often called the mystics or advocates of the Myers-Briggs world, known for their profound insight, compassion, and drive for purpose. But there's a hidden side to this rare personality type that goes beyond their empathetic nature, their shadow. According to Jung, every individual has a shadow, and it represents the aspects of ourselves that don't fit neatly into our self-image or align with the traits we consciously choose to display. These hidden traits often contradict our preferred personality, embodying qualities we may find uncomfortable, shameful, or simply incompatible with our public selves. The shadow is where we find what we might consider our negative or unacceptable traits, but it's not necessarily harmful. In fact, Jung argued that the shadow contains immense potential for growth. By facing it directly and integrating its contents into our conscious identity, we gain a more complete understanding of who we truly are. The process of shadow work, as it's often called, involves acknowledging these hidden aspects without judgment and understanding how they influence our actions and emotions. This integration can lead to a more balanced, whole sense of self. For INFJs in particular, the shadow archetype can be both an ally and a formidable challenge. They may struggle to accept emotions like anger, jealousy, or even self-interest, suppressing these feelings rather than processing them directly. While they work to display compassion and understanding, they may harbor critical thoughts or a deep sense of dissatisfaction with others or themselves. By facing their shadow, INFJs can develop a more grounded and realistic understanding of their own complexities, becoming more compassionate toward themselves and others in the process. Through this integration, they allow themselves to experience a fuller range of emotions, lessening the internal conflict that often arises from trying to maintain an overly idealized self-image. For INFJs, the ideal self is often built around high personal standards and an identity rooted in empathy, insight, and a commitment to making a positive impact on the world. However, their shadow may contain critical or harsh judgments about themselves or others that they suppress in order to maintain their ideal self-image. For example, while they may appear understanding on the surface, their shadow may harbor deep-seated frustration toward people who don't align with their values or meet their expectations. These unacknowledged feelings can gradually build into resentment or even passive aggressiveness, which INFJs may later feel guilty about because these responses feel misaligned with their ideal of compassion. This gap between the ideal self and the hidden shadow also appears in how INFJs manage their emotions. Many INFJs try to repress negative feelings like anger, jealousy, or disappointment, as they believe these emotions contradict their nurturing and harmonious nature. When left unaddressed, these emotions can emerge unexpectedly in ways that may surprise or even distress them. INFJs often experience this as a clash between their internal desire to be patient and empathetic and the more shadowy feelings that lurk beneath the surface, waiting to be acknowledged. The shadow self can also amplify I.N.F.J.'s perfectionistic tendencies. Since they hold themselves to high standards, INFJs often feel intense disappointment or shame when they fall short of their own expectations. They may project this disappointment outward, subtly becoming critical of others who don't meet the same ideals. Recognizing this critical voice within themselves allows INFJs to address these feelings with compassion, rather than allowing them to fester in silence. Another prominent aspect of the INFJ's shadow is the deep-seated need for control and certainty. While INFJs are naturally drawn to ambiguity and are comfortable exploring abstract ideas, they can become deeply uncomfortable when their vision or values are questioned. This can manifest as an intense need to assert their perspective or subtly direct situations to avoid outcomes that contradict their values. If unacknowledged, this can lead INFJs to act in rigid or even controlling ways, often in subtle forms such as passive resistance or withdrawal. They may even door-slam individuals who consistently challenge their worldview, seeing it as a way to protect themselves. Projection can lead INFJs to misunderstand the intentions of others or to feel misunderstood themselves, reinforcing a sense of isolation or resentment. By recognizing their own shadow's influence, INFJs can break the cycle of projection, cultivating a deeper and more authentic understanding of their relationships. By integrating their shadow, INFJs can move beyond black and white self-perceptions, allowing for a fuller, more nuanced view of who they are. This self-awareness can be freeing, as it enables INFJs to set healthier boundaries, express their needs more openly, and embrace their full range of emotions without shame. Embracing their shadow can also help INFJs navigate relationships with more grace, as they learn to balance empathy with honesty and compassion with assertiveness. By allowing themselves to accept the hidden parts of their personality, INFJs can achieve a greater sense of wholeness and feel more grounded in their interactions with others. Through this journey of self-acceptance, INFJs can live more authentically, free from the unrealistic pressures of an idealized self-image. Instead, they can embrace their natural complexity, acknowledging both their light and dark sides. In Myers-Briggs theory, each personality type has shadow functions, traits that operate outside their usual preferences. However, INFJs also have a shadow side composed of 4 opposite functions that represent the darker aspects of their personality. Introverted thinking, T. This function may manifest as rigid, overly critical thinking, leading INFJs to overanalyze or become harshly self-critical. Introverted sensing, C. INFJs may get stuck in past negative experiences, struggling to move forward or idealizing certain memories. When INFJs neglect these shadow functions, they risk allowing them to emerge unconsciously and negatively. However, understanding and embracing these functions can help INFJs build a more grounded, integrated personality. INFJs are often driven by a strong sense of purpose and a desire to make a positive impact on the world. Their desire for perfection and ethical integrity can make them overly self-critical, intolerant of mistakes, and unyielding in their values. Jung's philosophy encourages individuals to confront and integrate these darker aspects. Perfectionism is often both a motivator and a pitfall for INFJs. Their drive for excellence and need to make a meaningful impact can push them toward extraordinary achievements, but it can also lead to an exhausting cycle of self-criticism and frustration. INFJs don't just aim to complete tasks, they aim to exceed expectations, especially those they set for themselves. This internal demand for perfection can sometimes make them feel inadequate or frustrated when reality inevitably falls short of their high ideals. For INFJs, this perfectionism often shows up in 2 main areas: their work and their relationships. In their professional lives, INFJs may spend countless hours refining a project, editing and re-editing until they're certain it aligns with their vision. While this attention to detail is a strength, it can also prevent them from completing tasks efficiently or accepting feedback that challenges their idealized outcome. This drive can also lead to burnout, as INFJs struggle to balance their need for quality with realistic deadlines and expectations. In relationships, I.N.F.J.'s perfectionism often manifests in the desire for perfect harmony and understanding. Yet, when conflicts or misunderstandings arise, as they inevitably do in any close relationship, INFJs may feel disappointed or question the relationship's compatibility. Their idealistic nature can create high expectations not only for themselves but also for others, and when these expectations aren't met, they can feel let down or even resentful. Over time, this can lead them to withdraw from relationships, feeling as though they're always falling short of their ideal or that others simply don't get them. Another aspect of the perfectionism trap for INFJs is the fear of making mistakes or being seen as less than perfect. Additionally, I.N.F.J.'s perfectionism can lead to overthinking and indecision. They tend to spend a lot of time in their heads, analyzing all possible outcomes before making a decision. The desire for the perfect choice or solution can trap them in a loop of second-guessing, making even small decisions feel daunting. They want to be fair, compassionate, and authentic, but life doesn't always allow for perfect alignment with one's values. When they feel they've compromised their values, even in minor ways, INFJs may experience intense guilt or self-criticism. This internal conflict between self-protection and idealistic compassion can be a constant source of stress. To navigate the perfectionism trap, INFJs can benefit from learning to set realistic standards for themselves. INFJs can remind themselves that good enough is often more productive and healthier than perfect, especially when perfectionism begins to interfere with their well-being or progress. Learning to celebrate small achievements can also help INFJs ease up on themselves. This shift can also help them practice self-compassion, an essential skill for stepping away from harsh self-criticism. The more INFJs learn to accept their imperfections, the more room they create for genuine growth, allowing them to pursue their passions without becoming paralyzed by unrealistic expectations. Finally, understanding that relationships, like everything else, are imperfect can help INFJs avoid disappointment. Recognizing that every connection has its ups and downs allows them to invest in relationships more realistically, giving both themselves and others the grace to be human. Over time, INFJs can find freedom in accepting that both they and the people they care about are complex and flawed, but still deserving of patience and understanding. By gradually releasing themselves from the grip of perfectionism, INFJs can pursue their goals and relationships with more joy and resilience, knowing that growth, rather than unattainable perfection, is the true path to fulfillment. While INFJs are known for their empathy and aversion to conflict, they are not immune to anger. In fact, their deep sensitivity can make them especially prone to feeling hurt or misunderstood. However, INFJs may avoid expressing these feelings directly, instead suppressing their anger to maintain harmony. Over time, this bottled-up anger can transform into resentment or passive-aggressive behavior. By embracing their anger as a natural part of their emotional landscape, INFJs can develop healthier communication and set more effective boundaries. This can be confusing and even painful for the person on the receiving end, who may not understand why the INFJ has slammed the door so completely. They will often give someone multiple chances, and they may try very hard to work through difficulties in the relationship. However, when they perceive that their boundaries have been repeatedly crossed, their trust betrayed, or their core values disrespected, they may feel they have no choice but to protect themselves by closing off all emotional access. This door slam allows them to regain a sense of control and protect their mental and emotional health, especially when a relationship becomes too painful or toxic. INFJs tend to be highly loyal and empathetic, so it takes significant emotional upheaval for them to feel forced into taking such a drastic step. However, once they've decided to shut someone out, it's usually a firm decision. They may feel that reopening the door would only lead to more hurt or allow toxic patterns to re-emerge, which conflicts with their deep-seated need for emotional safety. Because INFJs are introverts who process things internally, they may appear calm or even detached on the surface, hiding the intense emotions they're actually feeling. As a result, friends, partners, or family members might not realize how close an INFJ is to cutting them off until it actually happens. This can make the door slam feel sudden and unexpected, even if it's something the INFJ has been considering for a long time. The INFJ's perfectionistic tendencies can also play into the door slam dynamic. However, if their efforts go unrecognized or are taken for granted, they may eventually feel that the relationship doesn't align with their values or needs. At this point, the INFJ may decide it's healthier to end the connection entirely rather than compromise their well-being. The door slam isn't easy for INFJs, even if it may seem cold or harsh from the outside. They often feel a mix of sadness, guilt, and relief after ending a relationship in this way. INFJs are generally compassionate and find it difficult to walk away from people they care about, so choosing to slam the door can bring up conflicting emotions. They might grieve the loss of the relationship, mourn the connection they once cherished, and question whether they did the right thing. However, the relief they feel from removing themselves from a painful or unfulfilling relationship often reassures them that it was a necessary step for their emotional health. At times, INFJs may also question their own actions, wondering if they could have done more to save the relationship or communicated their feelings more effectively. These feelings of guilt can linger, even though they likely put considerable effort into trying to address issues before reaching this breaking point. This internal struggle reflects their complex relationship with empathy and boundaries. They want to honor their caring nature, but they also need to protect themselves from situations that drain or harm them. If you're in a relationship with an INFJ and want to avoid a door slam, it's important to recognize and respect their boundaries early on. INFJs highly value honesty, integrity, and open communication, so being transparent and considerate can go a long way. Listening actively and validating their feelings can help INFJs feel secure and understood, reducing the likelihood of them feeling like they need to distance themselves. Furthermore, INFJs appreciate partners or friends who make an effort to understand their values and who respect their need for space and emotional processing. Being attentive to an INFJ's subtle cues is also essential, as they may not always voice their feelings of frustration or hurt openly. INFJs tend to downplay their own needs, so it's often up to those close to them to check in and make sure they feel supported and respected. Acknowledging their efforts and showing appreciation for their compassion and empathy can also make a difference. INFJs are usually willing to forgive and work through difficulties if they feel their concerns are genuinely understood and addressed. While the door slam is an effective method of self-protection, INFJs can also benefit from learning to set firmer boundaries before reaching the point of no return. Embracing their own needs as valid and worth honoring can help INFJs create healthier, more sustainable relationships, where they feel both valued and emotionally secure. They may feel uncomfortable sharing their own flaws, weaknesses, or insecurities, leading them to adopt a guarded or withdrawn stance. By embracing their shadow, INFJs can deepen their connections and build stronger, more authentic bonds with others. When they fall short of these standards, they may experience feelings of shame, disappointment, and self-doubt. Journaling, writing about their hidden thoughts and emotions can help INFJs uncover their shadow and gain greater self-awareness. Mindfulness meditation. Practicing mindfulness allows INFJs to observe their inner world without judgment, creating space for self-acceptance. Therapeutic support. Working with a therapist can provide INFJs with a safe environment to explore their shadow and develop healthier coping strategies. Creative expression, art, writing, or music can serve as powerful outlets for expressing and understanding their shadow traits. The journey of shadow work for an INFJ is a challenging but rewarding path. By confronting and embracing their hidden traits, INFJs can achieve a deeper sense of self-acceptance and live more authentically. This journey is not about erasing their shadow but rather integrating it, allowing them to embrace both the light and dark within themselves. So, if you're an INFJ, or someone intrigued by the depth of INFJ psychology, how have you experienced your own shadow? What techniques have you found helpful for embracing this hidden side? Let's continue the conversation below.